case studies. Introduction. UML includes the following 9 diagrams. Class diagram. These diagrams depict the behavioral pattern of the system. That is, how each and every class is interrelated to the other one, what sort of a relationship exists among each of the classes, etc. There would be only one class diagram possible for a single system. If there is a multi-system requirement, class diagrams of one system can be connected to the class diagrams of another system. Object diagram. It is similar to class diagram and is said to be a real entity or an instance of the class used to mention the extra properties of an entity besides the properties depicted by the class. Use case diagram. Use case diagram comprises of use cases and actors such. Here also, relationship between the use cases and actors is numerous. A use case diagram shows all the actions that a particular actor needs to perform throughout the system at any point of time. There would be only one use case diagram for each system. Sequence diagram. This diagram, as the name suggests, contains the flow of actions which is in a sequence way. Those actions are processed through a system and the lifelines of the entities when and how are they accessed. It has a security for which entity can process which entity and which one is visible, etc. There can be many number of sequence diagrams per each activity being done. Collaboration diagram. It is a polymorphic form of the sequence diagram. It has the different representation but same application. To create one sequence diagram, it's very simple to create its collaboration diagram with a single key click that varies from software to software. There can be numerous collaboration diagrams per each activity being done because there can be many number of sequence diagrams. Activity diagram. It denotes the structural flow of the activities like a flowchart with the decision box enhanced, and hence it is useful for troubleshooting like raising exceptions when a particular action is done and the alternative to be done when something abnormally occurs. There can be only one activity diagram for the entire system, including total performance of the system. State chart diagram. This diagram is a polymorphic form of the activity diagram. It is different in representation but same in application. It looks similar to a finite state machine state transition diagram. Deployment diagram. Deployment diagram is employed when we need to deploy development of the application. A single deployment diagram is possible for a single system. Component diagram. Component diagram represents the components in which the particular application needs to be installed or implemented on. It also shows the type of relation that exists among the various components that are represented. Hence, only a single component diagram representing all the components and their relations is needed for the entire system. Library management system. Problem statement. The case study titled Library Management System is library management software for the purpose of monitoring and controlling the transactions in a library. This case study library gets us to know the complete information about the library and the daily transactions taken place in a library. We need to maintain the record of new books and retrieve the details of books available in the library, which mainly focuses on basic operations in a library like adding new member, new books and update new information, searching books and members, and facility to borrow and return book. It features a familiar and well thought out and attractive user interface combined with strong searching, insertion and reporting capabilities. The report generation facility of library system helps to get a good idea of which are the books borrowed by the members, makes users possible to generate hard copy. The following is a brief description on the functions achieved by this case study. End users. Librarian, to maintain and update the records and to cater the needs of the users. Reader, need books to read and places various requests to the librarian. Vendor, to provide and meet the requirement of the prescribed books. Class diagram. Classes identified. Library, librarian, books database, user and vendor. Use case diagram. Librarian. Issue a book, update and maintain records, request the vendor for a book and track compliance. User. Register, login, search a book, request for issue, view history, request to the librarian and unregister. Books database. Update records and show book status. Vendor. Provide books to the library and payment acknowledgement. Sequence diagram. Sequence diagram indicates searching for a book and issuing it as per the request by the user from the librarian. Collaboration diagram. Collaboration diagram shows searching for a book and issuing it as per the request by the user from the librarian. Activity diagram. Activities. User login and authentication. Search book operation for reader. Acknowledge and issue books to the users by the librarian. Provide books requested by the librarian from the vendor. Bill payment from the librarian to the vendor. Status of the books updated in the books database. State chart diagram. States authentication. Successfully logged on or re-login. Search for a book or request the vendor or provide the requested book. Receive acknowledgement. Logged off or research or new function. Transition. Authenticate. Logged in. Logged in. Search. Acknowledgement. Logged in. Request vendor. Provide book and acknowledgement. Logged in. Provide book. Acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. Logged off. Component diagram. Components. Register page. Visitor or vendor. Login page. User or librarian or vendor. Search page. User or librarian or vendor. Request vendor page. Librarian. Request book issue page. User or vendor. Issue status page. Librarian. Make payment page. Librarian or vendor. Provide books page. Librarian. Logout page. User or librarian or vendor. Deployment diagram. System used for local consoles or computers for login and search purpose by users, librarian and vendors. Library learn server interconnecting all the systems to the database. Internet to provide access to vendors to supply the requested books by the librarian. Vendor server to maintain the records of the request made by the librarian and books equipped with the library. Online mobile recharge. Problem statement. The case study online mobile recharge gives us the information about all the mobile service providers. It provides us the complete information regarding any mobile service provider in terms of their plans, options, benefits, etc. Suppose any Airtel customer wants to have the information of all the schemes and services provided by the company, he or she can have the information and according to his convenience, he can recharge the mobile from the same application. The major advantage of this proposed system is to have the recharging facility of any service provider under same roof. End users. Service provider is the one who is nothing but the mobile service provider, like all the companies who are giving the mobile connections come under this module. Functionality of this module is to make the mobile recharging of their company basing on the availability of balance in the admin account. Request comes from the user and it is going to be verified at the admin for the availability of balance, and then the request is forwarded to the service provider to make the mobile recharge. Third party system administrator. Administrator is the one who monitors all users and user transactions. Admin also monitors all the service providers, all the user accounts and amounts paid by the user and amounts paid to service providers. When the request given by the user admin checks the available balance in the user account, then request is forwarded to the service provider. From there, user request gets processed. Admin has the complete information related to user and all the information related to the schemes and other information of different recharge coupons provided by the service providers. All the data is maintained at the admin level. Admin is having the rights to restrict any user. User. There are two categories in the user module: registered user, visitor. Any person who wants to utilize the services of online mobile recharge at any time from anywhere, they should get registered in this application. After getting registered, user can recharge the mobile at any time and from anywhere. Visitor is the one who visits the online mobile recharge application and have the complete information related to the service providers and can make the mobile recharge by entering the bank details or by giving the credit card details. Class diagram. Classes identified. User, registered, visitor. Third party system administrator. Third party server or database. Service provider. Direct or non third party user, that is direct access through service provider site. Use case diagram. User, register, recharge, select payment gateway, select service provider and make payment. Third party administrator, forward user request to service provider and track compliance. Third party server or database, authenticate the registered users and maintain the log. Service provider, recharge the users requested either directly or through the third party system, provide various plans to the user. Sequence diagram. Sequence diagram for a user to recharge his account through third party site. Collaboration diagram. Collaboration diagram for a user to recharge his account through third party site. Activity diagram. Activities. User login and authentication for registered user. Forward the request to service provider if logged in as administrator. Enter service provider site for a direct user. Enter recharge amount. Select payment gateway. Login and authenticate bank account. Make payment and check for the recharge processed successfully or not. States: authentication for registered users or registration for unregistered users. Successfully logged on or re-login. Operator selection. Show the tariff plans available and applicable. Request recharge. Go through payment gateway transaction process. Authentication to enter the gateway site. Successfully logged on or re-login. Payment made and logged off. Transitions. Registration, authenticate, logged in. Logged in. Operator selection, tariff plans and requested recharge. Operator selection. Request recharge, payment gateway transaction. Payment gateway transaction, operator selection. Payment gateway transaction logged off. Components. Third party home page. Visitor or registered user or admin or service provider. Third party register page. Visitor. Third party login page. Registered user. Third party user history page. Registered user. Request recharge page. Registered user. Third party logout page. Registered user. Online payment transaction gateway page. Direct user or registered user. Service provider homepage. Visitor or registered user or admin or service provider. Tariff plans page. Visitor or registered user or admin or service provider. Deployment diagram. Systems used. Consoles or computers for registration, login purposes by third-party users, and for quick recharge by direct users. Third-party server to receive and respond to all the requests from various users. Internet to provide access to users to recharge their accounts through payment gateways by placing requests through third-party sites and service providers' sites. Payment gateway server like bank server to provide online payment through their personal account to meet the requirements of the users. Service provider server to maintain the records of the request